as a guide, I've always loved bonefish. It's always been one of those things, especially in Islamorada, it's kind of the fish. I mean, there's certainly places all over the country where you can catch redfish, even tarpon and a lot of the other species. But bonefish, this is the only place to do it.
Got it. Nice job, Tom. Nice job, man.
When you get out there on a day like we had, and you see those tails popping up and those fish feeding, it has an effect on me. I mean, it gets me so excited. And knowing if I make the right cast, I can catch one of them. If I make the wrong cast, boom, I spook them.
Yes, baby, yes, yes,
That was so cool. Oh, he's coming right in the boat.
Look at those fish. That was so cool, man. Yes, look at that guy.
That is a shark.
That's the biggest fish I've ever caught. I got him, relax.
Oh, dude, he just ripped my boat off. One of the reasons we went where we went this morning is because the conditions were perfect for us. We had a calm morning, it was slick, it's during the summer so the water temperatures were warm, and when we got out there first thing in the morning, it was really, you know, just glassy, perfect. It was just right, the water just started rising up on that flat, and those fish were starting to feed up on there, and as they approach up on that shallow water, they'd start tailing and feeding, and what those fish are doing is they're getting up onto an area that they weren't able to get up there just an hour earlier. It was dry, and as that water rises in, they're going up there to feed on new territory. There's shrimp and crabs and other things up there that are disoriented from that tide flushing in, and they're up there just feasting, and it was just a perfect scenario for us.
Looking for tips of tails there, Tom, or we might see them push a little. It's kind of deep here, but every time they hit that low spot and tip up, we're going to see them pop up good. There's going to be some big bones here too. I've caught some 12s, a lot of 8s, real nice big fish.
Yeah. One, there's at least 2. There could possibly be 3 fish there.
They're going to be ultra spooky fish. We're going to have to lead them a long ways and really let them
current here.
Not much current, a little bit going that way. Look at that, Tom. Look at them all tailing. God, that's beautiful, man.
Rich's strength in bone fishing is unquestionably his ability to find them and understand what these fish are doing. And, you know, as a bone fisherman and as a guide who makes your living at bone fishing, anybody can find them up tailing. That's not the difficult way to find them, in my opinion. Rich, he makes his living by finding bonefish on adverse conditions, when the tides aren't right, by finding them in areas that are not heavily pressured, in areas that other guides, you know, really don't think that bonefish should be there. And he's spent so much time doing that, the same way that I've done that for permit in the lower keys. That's definitely his strength. You know, a lot of people can catch them, but you can't catch them if you can't find them. And so that's why I like coming to Islamorada and making sure I'm fishing with Rich, because I know we're going to find them. Then it's up to me to catch them.
This is good position here, baby. Just bump us up a little bit. They're coming right like this. This is going to be a great shot right there.
They just started to push a little. They're pushing right there, Tom. I think that's them. No, that's not them. That's not them. Let's concentrate on this bunch right in front of us, 12.
These are turning back to us a little bit. Might be able to make a shot at these other guys.
Just be patient, wait for the right shot. We're going to catch one of these.
They're pushing to the right. I want to make one shot at these guys. Come on. It's a little bit deeper water. There's still one there. We got it. Got it.
Nice job, Tom. Nice job, man. Nice shot, dude. That was so cool, man. Nice job, dude. Awesome. Great cast right over
Here,
the
I'll
back.
tell you what, man. There is nothing.
You got the hook set good on them?
Yeah.
Way high. Keep them off that grass, because there's some high grass. They'll break us off on. It's probably at least an 8-pound fish, if not better.
There's nothing I like better than that. But of course I say that every time I catch anything. Okay, he's coming back.
if you're using a live shrimp or a live crab, the best thing that you can do is let that bait be a live crab or a live shrimp. So I'll throw out there, I'll keep the rod tip high, just enough to where I can feel that shrimp. As the bonefish are approaching, drop the rod a little bit and just give him 2 feet of slack. Then you feel a thump, thump, and you know you're on. Reel, set the hook, and the sound of that braid taking off, you know, it's become as big a part of my fishing as the sound of the reel. You know, hearing a reel screaming, any fisherman loves to hear that. But also, man, you combine that with the sound of that braid zipping through those guides, and you just know you are in the best spot you could be in. Everything is going your way, and you know, it's like heaven. You know, this grass, you know, even as good an eyesight as they have, sometimes you gotta watch those wakes. That's all I could really see was the wake.
Coming right to the boat here. Come around the other side, Tom, quickly with foaming. Man, what a way to start off a morning.
Ready? Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, baby.
Very nice.
Wow, how about that, huh?
I love those guys.
That's a nice one, man. Good job, buddy. Just like you put me on this permit last time. I got you on the bones there, first cast. Nice job, man.
We got plenty of fish this size down in my way, but what we don't have are a lot of those.
Yeah, well,
14s.
we had a school of how many there? That's a nice fish. I'll tell you what, worldwide, that's a good fish. He'll go about 7 pounds, I'd say. What do you think? That was a great bite. Go ahead and send him away if you're ready.
Closed captioning is provided by Lowrance. We lead, we find, you win. The Hawks Cay Saltwater Experience, presented by Yellowfin, is brought to you by Hawks Cay Resort Marina and Villas. All the fun of the Florida Keys in one island resort. Yellowfin, only in a Yellowfin. Quantum Rods and Reels, fishing at a quantum level. By Mercury Marine. Lowrance, makers of HDS, high-definition systems. By Bass Pro Shops, your adventure starts here. Sperry Topsider, a passion for the sea. And by Loadmaster, Power Pole, Corrosion Block, Ocean LED, and Toughline.
Anytime I get a chance to go fish Islamorada, especially going and fishing Islamorada with Rich, get pretty excited because Islamorada, without question, is the bonefish capital of the world. There are other places in the world that have more fish and that you can catch a lot more fish than Islamorada, but there is no place in the world, anywhere, and the IGFA record book will attest to this, there's no place that has bigger fish and more of them. That doesn't mean that you're gonna catch a lot of them, and it's kind of like fishing a spring creek for trout. Like when I used to guide out in Wyoming, Idaho, and Montana, we would go to the big rivers and we would catch a lot of fish. We might not catch a lot of big ones, but we would catch a whole lot of them that day. And then maybe the next day I would take my customers over to a spring creek where the water's crystal clear and you have to use the smallest flies to fool the biggest fish. Coming away from that day, catching one trout, you knew that if you caught one, it was gonna be a big one, and chances are it could be the fish of a lifetime for you. So that's how I relate this Islamorada bone fishing to all other kinds of fishing. This is like spring creek trout fishing. You may not catch 4, 5, you may not even catch 1, but if you do, it's gonna be a big one, and it's probably gonna be in a really cool situation that you're not gonna forget for a long time.
Look at them pushing there, Tom. It's a good school fish.
It is a good school of fish.
Man, this is my favorite thing to do this summer, man. The big schools out here tailing, pushing.
I can throw this thing so far.
Yeah, gotta be careful not to land it too close because they're...
I may have to take a running start, but I might be able to reach her. I mean, really. That's like Happy Gilmore.
Just don't get anywhere near them, man, because they're gonna spook. Go ahead and try it if you want to.
They're too far right now, but if you just keep going up, I'll tell you when I think I can.
the adrenaline rush is half the battle. You have to be able to overcome that. I've got clients that have fished with me in tournaments. I've fished in tournaments, Tom fished in tournaments, where we've literally done very poorly because we couldn't control that adrenaline rush. Sight fishing, where we're seeing those big fish tailing, it makes you crazy. You start, you know you can make that cast. All day long you can make that cast, except when that fish tails up in front of you. All of a sudden they're going way left, they're going way right. And then you get so excited when one actually bites, you might jerk it right out of their mouth or do something, ridiculous. Stuff that normally wouldn't happen. So becoming a better angler, half of that is controlling that adrenaline rush. Seeing it happen, but being able to, stay calm enough to where you can still make that precise cast and do what it takes to catch that fish.
You on him?
That is beautiful. I might have to take a shot here.
Okay, there's one there.
Okay,
Go a little to the right of me there.
It looks like they're turning a little bit to the left. Try it right in there, just for safety's sake.
That's a safety cast, huh?
I didn't mean to get that close to him. Wait, he's on it. He's on it.
Just let it sit. All right, they're turning. I'm gonna go again. Oh yeah.
You're in him. Come on, baby. Pick it up.
Yeah.
Pick it up. Pick it up. Pick it up.
Yes, baby, yes, yes,
That was
yes.
so cool. Oh, he's coming right in the boat. Coming right in the boat.
Yes, look at those fish.
That was so cool,
Great
man.
cast, man.
Oh boy.
Let me get on the
right at
motor.
the
Let me
boat.
get on the motor. You get.
That was so cool. Gosh, that's one of the coolest bites I've ever had, Tom. We stayed on this fish for so long.
Are you ready to run around?
Look at this
man?
long run, long run.
Look at this guy right here.
Oh boy. That was so cool, Tom. Look at this long run. He is smoking me, smoking me. That was incredible. I can't believe we got up to him that shallow in this bay boat. I cannot believe we got up to him that shallow. I would have never thought we'd have ever gotten that shallow.
Those tailing bonefish affect me in such a way. When I see them, I go back to like the first time I've ever seen a bonefish tailing. It makes me nervous. It gets my stomach, tied up in knots. And it's that pressure. When you're on the bow and you making that cast, that's what's so exciting about this sight fishing, this visual aspect. It's an adrenaline rush. People get addicted to it. Tom and I have clients that come down year after year after year, and they're just addicts at this. They spend all their retirement plan fishing with us because they're so addicted to the thrill of seeing that fish, that rush they get standing on the bow, knowing they're going to make that right cast. And often they don't catch a fish, that day. They make a lot of bad casts, and it spooks them. But that thrill, like they know the challenge, and then when they do it and it happens and they actually catch one, oh man, the build up to it is just so dramatic.
All right, you can slow us down.
Ooh, you got a lot of grass.
He's coming at us fast. I can see him there in the water. Here he is in the water. Oh, look at that pretty bone. Look how shallow this water is we caught that guy in. Can you believe it? Oh, nice job, dude.
Really cool.
Can you believe we got up that shallow? I never thought we would have gotten there.
Dude, that guy had his dorsal out, his back out. I think he might have had his eyeball out.
Wow, what a beautiful thing. And then I thought we spooked him. I laid that cast in there and slid it right in front of there. Boy, you don't normally get away with a cast like that. Oh man, that's incredible. Oh man, it's been a long time since I got to catch a bonefish myself, man. I'm trying to think when the last time was. That's great. I like watching anybody play though. It's just so visual to see it and do it. Man, gosh, they are so strong.
Look at that. Look at that. I love those goggles, man. They totally, they're perfectly made. See that membrane right over the top there?
Yeah, the eyes are just...
It's like wearing goggles.
Yeah, it is, so they can get down in there.
Down in the well.
I'm gonna go ahead and let him go here. That was awesome, man.
Good job.
And he's off. See you, bud.
Whew. Very good. Very
Nice
good.
job, man. That's cool. See you, bud.
2 years ago, you would have never convinced me that we could catch a tailing bonefish out of a 24-foot boat. I've made my living over the last 10 years guiding people on tailing bonefish, redfish, permit, and tarpon in that shallow water. With the advent of these shallow water performing bay boats with a great trolling motor and a power pole, we're able to not only get into that shallow water, but maneuver and catch those tailing bonefish, redfish, and permit very effectively. And that's the greatest thing about the bay boats. Tom and I, when we get a day off, we don't have to push each other around with a push pole. We can, take turns working the trolling motor. We can get into that shallow water and chase those bonefish around effectively, or redfish, or whatever we're doing. We can also have a nice, soft, dry ride getting to our spot. We don't get beat up, we don't get wet, and it's very enjoyable. The other great benefit is if it's not happening on the flats, we can take a ride out in some deep water, hit a wreck, go offshore, do everything on a nice day. So it really gives us a lot of options, and it's a really nice way to fish. We settled on these Skeeter 24 bays. We love them. They ride soft, yet they go shallow. I mean, it's got a great layout, with rod storage, everything just the way we like it. It's a well-designed boat. But take a test ride. That's what you have to do when you're looking at these boats. Determine what it is you want to do. Do you want to take your family fishing? Do you want to do more technical fishing, yourself? Are you going to take 5 people, 2 people? Get the size boat. They range, the bay boats, there's 20-footers up to 24-footers, and a wide variety of styles and performance. And if you're looking for a bay boat that'll get you in shallow water to chase around tailing redfish or bonefish, you need to look for a couple things. One is you need to have a low bow so that you can have a trolling motor that will work effectively. Some of the bay boats have these huge high bows, and the trolling motor's constantly coming out of the water, or you're kneeling down to try to use it. The low bow is key for shallow water performance. The wind doesn't blow the boat around. You can use a long shaft 60-inch trolling motor and get it up to your level where you can comfortably use it effectively. These are key elements. Obviously, it needs to have shallow water performance. It needs to draft a little bit of water, and certain boats are going to draft more than others. Our Skeeter 24 Bay, comfortably 11 inches of water all day long. With 3 people, 4 people, it doesn't seem to matter. It displaces very little water. So those are the kind of elements you need to look for if you're looking for a good bay boat that'll perform in shallow water.
The Florida Keys, like most tropical fishing destinations, is a place that's known for wind. A lot of my anglers, when they're calling to make a reservation, they're concerned about whether they're coming at a windy time of the year or not. It's a valid concern because they're intimidated on whether they can make the cast far enough or accurately enough in the windy conditions. But the truth is that the calmer it gets, the more spooky the fish get, and the further and more accurately you're going to have to make the cast. So in order to improve our distance and accuracy, the first thing we're going to do is drop down in line size. Instead of using 10-pound tests, we're going to drop down to 6-pound tests, and we're going to use braid. The next thing we're going to do is utilize the blanks that we came up with for quantum. We are adding 6 inches to a foot to the standard 7-foot rod that's utilized on the flats. Moving up that extra 6 inches or a foot to a 7.5 or even an 8-foot rod is going to enable you to make that cast further and more accurately with a lighter and lighter bait. So if you want to add more distance to your cast with a lighter bait, first drop down in line size, and secondly, try one of these 7.5 to even an 8-foot rod. This extra length in your rod is going to allow you to throw a light bait further than you could ever dream was possible. Combine that with a braid, and you're going to be able to cast further and accurately and with a long enough distance to fool that fish in even the calmest conditions.
The Hawks Cay Saltwater Experience, presented by Yellowfin, is brought to you by Yellowfin, only at a Yellowfin. Finor, legendary tackle since 1933. The Florida Keys in Key West, come as you are. YETI coolers, wildly stronger, keep ice longer. MotorGuide, never stop. By SIRIUS Marine Weather, satellite weather direct to your boat. And by Under Armour, King Sailfish mounts, Stabil, Scott fly rods, and Plano.
Shallow water sight fishing requires precise casts and delicate presentations. Lots of anglers come down they've never had to make casts like this. They go away humbled. I'm going to show you a couple of casts and a couple of drills that'll have you tuned up to catch any fish in saltwater. First, you want to choose a rod and reel and lure that's going to be similar to the one that you're going to be fishing with on your trip. But in order to minimize the splash or to reduce the splash to nothing, we're going to show you this cast where you're going to cast low and to the side. As the lure is going to the target, you're going to raise the rod to an angle like this, and you're going to feather the line to the stop. What's going to happen is the lure is going to go out parallel to the water, change the trajectory, and it's going to stop and drop in without any splash at all. Once you got the hang of that cast, what you want to do is envision that there's a fish right at this spot right here at 40 feet, and then he's going to move after you cast to this angle at about 60 feet. This is a very common situation in flats fishing. You're going to make your cast here at 40. The fish may not eat it. You're going to reel in quickly, get yourself situated, and make a cast at 60 at a different angle. Practice minimizing the splash, and you'll be ready to catch any fish on the flats.
Got the hooks that good?
I don't know, man. I don't know if that hook's in there good. Get that net. Let's get it. Oh, here he comes right here. Ready? Yes.
That's awesome, man. There were so many of them tailing.